Welcome to another video from Urban Traditionalists. Today we are doing a gear dump. Now the term gear dump is usually affiliated with a survival backpack or hunting backpack or camping backpack. You dump out all your gear and show off what you carry and what you have and why you carry it. But we are going to adopt the term and apply it to food preservation, particularly dehydration today. So we're going to go over everything that I keep on hand to dehydrate so that I'm ready to go at all times, especially come harvest season, in order to store things and take advantage of that high yield season. So first and foremost is a dehydrator. This is one we just got on Amazon. I don't actually even remember where we bought it or what have you. I think the brand is London Sunshine, if you will. So I don't know. I kind of feel like dehydrators are like microwaves. They're all the same until you get to like the upper level professional ones. Essentially what you want to look for in a dehydrator is something that gives you a wide range of temperature options. This one's digital and lets me set it. It does kind of jump at weird intervals, I find, but it's specific enough that it's fine. And then it has a timer on it as well. So I can set this thing for 12 hours, 24 hours, and it automatically shuts off when it's done. I love that. That means that I can fill it before I go to bed, let it run all night long, and in the morning pull everything out. The other thing I like about this dehydrator is it has 6 trays, which I think is fairly standard for this size, but it comes with 2 tray types. So you have your normal kind of metal, kind of looks like a cookie sheet, that you'd put your cookies on after they've cooked. And then a drying rack, if you will. And then it's got this secondary plastic sheet. Now this plastic sheet, they advertise mainly for fruit leather, but I actually use it for almost everything because some things dehydrate so small that they actually just fall right through this and they all end up on the bottom, which is super annoying. So this kind of stops that from happening. The other reason is that a lot of what I dehydrate is really, really juicy. So apples or peaches or cherries. And they really, really stick to this and it's hard to get them off. Where with this guy, if you've got this full of dried apples, you can just bend it and the apples kind of snap off when they're dried. So I honestly just use this for almost everything. The only thing I don't like about it is that it is not the same width. You can see this big gap here as the this kind of metal mesh one. So I'm not really sure why this is a lot smaller. I would really like it if this was this whole width. But anyway, it is helpful having the 2 drying rack options because I really just, there we go. I really use that mesh for everything. All right, so like I said, dehydrators are kind of like microwaves in that sense. You know, you only really need the temperature and the time and away you go. So if you have one that you really, really like, tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to check it out. The only thing I would really do differently is a bigger one. And this can do like about 10 pounds, 8 to 10 pounds of apples. I dehydrated 40 pounds of apples last year. So that was, I think, actually 5 rounds in this thing. So it's probably closer to 8 pounds that it does. Where I would love to be able to do like 20 pounds at once. So maybe one day we'll upgrade to one of those big industrial ones where we can like dehydrate the entire orchard all at once. But for now, this guy's awesome. I love it. I love that it doesn't take up too much space. Next, you really don't need a ton of equipment to dehydrate, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. With canning, you need a lot more, and we did do a gear dump video for canning, so we'll be sure to check that out. But when it comes to dehydration, it's essentially food preparation. So when I dehydrated peppers, you're just washing them, cutting off any, unsightly bits, cutting them up into 1-inch cubes and throwing them on the trays. So essentially a good knife and a cutting board is going to be your biggest helper here. Outside of that, tools to make the processing quicker, like an apple core peeler combination, which I feature in the canning gear dump video, or like a cherry pitter, something like that. So anything that helps you speed up that food processing is going to help you. We have a mandolin, a professional grade mandolin, and that's amazing because you just slide your food on it and it all comes out the exact same thickness. Thickness is really important when it comes to dehydrating because you want everything to dehydrate evenly, and if it's too thick, it'll take really, really long. So thickness is important, and a mandolin is great for controlling that. The other thing that's really more what you need to know is storage. Oh, actually, before we get into that, lemon juice. So when it comes to things like apples and pears, you do want them kind of lightly coated in lemon juice. What most people do is fill a bowl of water with lemon juice in it, and then they soak, and then they pull from the water and put that food on the trays. What I like to do is when I have a whole tray of apples on here, fresh and ready to go, I take my lemon juice spritzer, spritz lemon juice on everything. Usually I'm doing it outside because it's warm and it's summer. And I hold this over the grass and then I just spritz it. And then that way everything's evenly covered in lemon juice. And I don't have to deal with a whole bunch of water and bowls and all of that. Keeps it nice and compact. The other thing I like to keep on hand is gloves. You don't want to be touching your finished dehydrated product with your bare hands. That can transfer a lot of oil and bacteria to your food. And then if you're long-term storage that food, that oil and what have you is going to create bacteria. So when your food is completely done and dehydrated, it's good to wear gloves and then just touch your product that way, right? You know, then you can handle it all, put it all away, and then it's done. So that's just more for sanitary purposes. If you're dehydrating something to use right away, it's not as big of a deal, but just to get in the habit of it, it's good to have the gloves on hand. So storage is the bigger topic when it comes to dehydration. Obviously with canning, things just sit in mason jars. You can put your dehydrated food in a mason jar. This is actually mushrooms in here. But you always want to use an oxygen absorber when you do this. And you can buy oxygen absorbers on Amazon, and they come in packs like this, all vacuum sealed up. And I want to say there's 100 in here, 50 or 100. Oh, 100 pack, yeah. So there's 100 oxygen absorbers in here. And you do want to use them even if you're using jars to store your food. So you put all your product in there, and then you can see the oxygen absorbers kind of sitting right there in the corner. This is how I store food when we're using it all the time. So peppers, sweet peppers, mushrooms, onions, spinach, those are things that I like to keep active in the kitchen all the time. And you don't always want to be accessing a Mylar bag if it's something you're using frequently. So this is how I keep some of our dehydrated product just so that we can use it on the go. And then that way it's accessible. This is going to be fine for like months and months and months this way. And you don't want to be touching this all the time with your hands. So really we just kind of like sprinkle it out of the jar into our food, whatever it is that we're cooking. But this is a perfectly fine way to store this. Another example here is these are peaches, peach slices. So we keep stuff like that out for snacking. We also have like apples and pears that the dog loves. So they're like people snacks and dog snacks. If you want to store your food for a really long time, you have to do Mylar bags with the oxygen absorber. So this is a bag of apples from 2020. And Mylar bags just essentially look like this. You can buy them also in packs of 100. They usually come folded up like that. There's like little tear tabs on the side when you're ready to open it. But these bags are huge. I would actually recommend buying this size because you can always size it down. Now, when it comes to sealing them, you have to hot seal them, and you can buy a little machine to do that where you stick it in and it seals it. But if you want the life hack, use a hair straightener. This hair straightener gets up to about 400 degrees, so it's pretty intense. And when we're ready to go, we heat it up and then just literally grab the edges of the bag until it's sealed. And it'll seal it up. This was done with the hair straightener. Seals it up really, really good. Now, the reason why I recommend these big bags is because they will hold about, I would actually venture to say 20 pounds of fresh apples dehydrated. So that's 2 rounds of dehydration will fit in this bag of apples, let's say. If you want to do something smaller, you can half the size of this bag by taking your hair straightener and just melting it right in the middle, and then just cut it. Just cut in that melted straight line. And that will give you now 2 bags that you can use. As an example, this is garlic. I'm not going to fill this bag with garlic. That's ridiculous. So we melted off just a portion of that bag, and then this is actually full of garlic. Another example, you can buy little ones. This is actually chives, so that's a herb from our garden from last year. So you can get little herb bags as well. So Mylar bags are the preferred way for long-term storage for dehydrated products. You can store them in mason jars. It just has to be airtight and then oxygen absorber inside. So jars are for everyday accessible. Mylar bags are long-term. When I go to open this Mylar bag, I'll probably cut it straight across, use this bag to fill my mason jar with apples, and then reseal the bag halfway. And then that way the rest of the apples can stay in there for a long time as well. So that's kind of the technical side of storage. All right. Honestly, dehydration is super easy, and I'm doing it way more these days than canning. I still love canning, and obviously when it comes to like fresh juicy things or meat or salsas and all of that kind of stuff, canning is the way to go. But I didn't can peaches last year. These are from 2 years ago. I actually dehydrated about 30 pounds of peaches this year. Because this, to me, I just was like, you know what? We have a ton of canned peaches. Canning peaches is a disaster. I'm just going to dehydrate them. And they are super good. So even when we go camping, we'll throw like a bunch of these in the trailer. And then that way you've just got like immediate snacks all the time. The other thing we'll do is we'll like fill Ziploc bags full of different dehydrated products like cherries and apples and peaches and pears and whatever. And then my husband will throw that in his hunting bag when he goes hunting, right? So it's just really accessible. You can't really throw this in a hunting bag. We do take these camping, but this is way more spill friendly, if you will. All right. I feel like I'm missing something because it's just too easy. Dehydration is so easy. You don't need a lot of stuff for it. And that's about it. If I'm missing something, if you use something that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments. I hope this gives you a good idea of what you need to store for dehydrating. I hope it encourages you to start dehydrating. It's honestly, I can't talk enough about it. I'm talking all my friends into dehydrating. They want to learn canning, and I tell them just dehydrate. Start with that. So hopefully you learned something, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, guys.